This is my second post-intervention assessment. My checklist says pick 2 papers from the bowl and choose one. Put the one that was not chosen back in the bowl. Discard the one you choose after the session is over. Using the notebook and pen, write an outline for your speech. Before you start writing the outline, set a timer for 10 minutes. Show the timer to the camera. Once the timer rings, press stop and you can use the outline you created for your speech. Set a second timer for 4 minutes. Show it to the camera and begin your speech. Do not stop talking until you hear the timer ring. The question I got was my first job. My first job was a camp counselor at a summer camp for adults and children with disabilities. I was extremely nervous for it to be my first job, also because we found out that we could only shower every other day and our meals were different than the campers' meals. But during the summer camp, each week had a different theme. There was Girls Week, there was Guys Week, there was Hippie Week, there was Wilderness Explorer Week, there was like Throwback Week, and my favorite was the Wild Wild West Week. During the whole summer, there was a camper that we called Sheriff. He wore a cowboy hat, he always had a pair of handcuffs with him, and he would think that he was the sheriff of the park in the whole camp. He had seizures though, so he would have to wear a helmet sometimes. And sometimes at meal times we wouldn't see him and we would ask his camp counselor where Sheriff was, but he was back in the lodging because he had had a seizure and his body was just sore and he was just tired. But during Wild Wild West Week, the campers got to go on horses and go on a horseback ride. There was also daily art classes where they would just do sensory projects. There was talent shows, there was dances, meal times together, yoga, stories by the bonfire. For one of the talent shows, I had a lucky pick of a camper who was assigned to me that would make some gross concoction in the kitchen and just pour all types of gross condiments and leftover foods and liquids together and pour it on top of the head of her staff of her choosing. But luckily that time it was not me, so I was glad for that. To be able to see the other children and adults be able to experience a summer camp just like any neurotypical child would or adult would was simply amazing. I remember it was my first experience with someone that had seizures, and I was very nervous. She had absent seizures, and she always told me to talk about Full House to her, and that would kind of bring her back. But to do laundry, we'd have to go to Flagstaff on our days off and do it in town. And we also slept in the same bunk as all of the campers did to ensure that they had around-the-clock care, if need be. I remember one time on an excursion we went swimming with all of the campers, and there was a camper with cerebral palsy, and he was able to get in the water, and I just held him in my arms and just kind of swayed him back and forth, and it was extremely rewarding for me. But it was a great challenge, but also extremely rewarding first job. And I'm thankful that I got to help campers and adults and children with all different disabilities experience a summer camp in the most inclusive way possible. But I'm also thankful for what I learned, such as only being able to have a Cliff Bar for breakfast and running off of that, but also just being fed and rewarded like that by my counselors or by my campers. It was just rewarding for me as much as it was for them. When they would arrive on the bus, they would get out and we would do the arm tent for them to run through, and seeing the joy on their faces made it all worth it. And that was such a drive to continue on with. At the time, I was still in college to get my degree to be a SPED teacher, and it was everything I needed to push me to continue. I only worked there one summer because after that, I was in student teaching and other jobs during the summers, but I'm lucky to have been able to do that and experience that. Stop timer and stop the recording.